Hello, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks podcast with your host, Catriel. We have a returning guest here today, Carrie Trubenbach, aka Wisdom. How are you doing tonight?
Just great, thanks. The coffee helps.
It's funny, I'm talking, I'm not really sure how, but I'm like very clear, but I feel like I'm just like floating, which is awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's a good feeling.
It really is. Feeling. Very saggy. So what's been going on for you lately?
Oh gosh, well, you and I worked on getting my music up and out, finally.
Yes.
Mainstreaming it.
Actually, tell us about your music.
Oh, all right. Well, you know, I realized the other day that the lyrics to my music were channeled, and I didn't realize it then. But the lyrics to the songs, to a lot of the songs, not all of them, but were created like 15, 20 years ago before the concept of oneness was even familiar to me. And yet I was writing songs that I understood somewhat cognitively, but I didn't have any real understanding what it meant. I mean, spiritually, what that was really all about.
Wow.
You know, stepping into the oneness. And so when I look back now and I'm listening to the music, it's really like the music was written by spirit for me.
Wow.
And now I'm sharing it with the
Wow.
world. It's just, the lyrics are just so, it's like truth. In fact, I was thinking the name of the album really should be like Music of the Soul or Music of Truth. It really is about truth just pouring out in the lyrics. And so it's like melodious truth.
Wow. You know, it's funny because I know, your sun sign's a Gemini, but your earth sign is Sagittarius, which is all about truth.
I didn't even know that. My earth sign is Sagittarius. Is it really?
It is.
Oh my gosh, how did you know that and I didn't know that? I mean, how does that work?
Okay, so I got like a little bit of a cheat right here. So every time that the sun is in a particular sign, it's always going to be 180 degrees. The earth is going to be 180 degrees apart.
Oh.
So you're going to know based off of what the complementing or opposition sign is, what your earth sign is.
I didn't know that. That's great.
Fun fact.
Yeah, it is. I love learning.
Yeah, so like, when we look at our charts, like say you were born at 15 degrees Gemini. I don't know what your chart is, but I'm just going to say that. Then your earth will be in 15 degrees Sagittarius.
Oh, interesting. What does the 15 degrees mean, though?
Oh, I could go into that. I just don't know if that's actually your degree point because I'd have to look at your chart for that one. But the 15 degrees is leading with your heart, with communication, and finding balance within that.
Oh, that's perfect. Wow.
I like to actually go through the specific details like that.
Yeah.
When you saw how the other night how detailed I am with things, but those little details are really important sometimes, and it's what makes you, or like those little tiny things, just like. Those little quirks we have.
It's the uniqueness in all of us.
Yeah,
it really is. And the way I see it is the whole idea about judging or, whatever, racism, judging, any of that.
Yeah.
It's about not respecting the God uniqueness in each person.
Ooh, that was powerful.
But that's really what it is to me, and that's what really stopped me from making generalizations about people or, that I found different or scary for me or whatever. It was realizing, diversity is God's creation, not mine. It's the Creator's creation, the source, the universe, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. But it's it's that diversity that also scares people.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they've accepted, they're looking at life still through the lenses of the small human and not through the lenses of a spiritual perspective that takes spirit in all decisions and all perceptions.
Yeah.
So if you love the planet, if you love the diversity of plants, if you love the diversity of animals, if you love, the diversity of man, it's all diversity.
Yeah.
And then just loving it and being in gratitude and appreciation for all of it instead of judging it because we get scared.
That's a thing. I mean, fear is a huge thing. I mean, it's caused wars, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if we think, like, if we went back to, any one of the dictators, way back when, what they were probably experiencing. I mean, one, they have their own stories and how they were raised and everything. But, we talk about power and all that stuff. And yeah, that's all a part of it. But imagine, like, they must have been scared of something, because it's like, the fear of letting go or not letting go. For instance, for instance, Hitler, right? I don't know why we're going here, but this is where we're going tonight. Strange. I'm like, am I supposed to do this? Yes, okay. Guess we're clearing something.
As soon as you start talking about dictators, I mean, he was, my top. I thought of him.
I thought of
and
Hitler and Stalin.
Those
are the two. We could have went with Mussolini too, but
yes, we could, absolutely.
But for instance, it's like, okay, Hitler had a very wild upbringing. He was, orphaned as a child. I'm sure he was scared most of his life. And then he gets into, he was Austrian, not German. And then he was an artist too. And he did not get into the art school that he wanted to. So rejection, bam, right off the bat. After, he's already had a tough life being in an orphanage. And then he fights for Austria in World War I and is imprisoned in a camp, kind of like a POW type of thing, prisoner of war.
Uh-huh.
And then, you imagine that much beatdown, And then...
But see, that can also create compassion.
Exactly. It's the choices.
Mm-hmm.
It all goes down to the choices. But, and that's the thing. It's kind of like in Harry Potter. You ever watch Harry Potter?
I have. I'm not saying he's on something I watched all the time, but I have.
The reason I mention that is there's a moment with Sirius Black and Harry. And Harry at that point had just seen Cedric Diggory die right in front of him. He's already had a horrible life. He was an orphan, okay? This is a perfect example to bring together, And he's gone through a lot of stuff, a lot of people teasing him, how he was raised with his uncle and aunt, treating them horribly, finally going to Hogwarts, and then he sees someone. He sees Voldemort, who was also orphaned, kind of like who you would, kind of like a Hitler, honestly, right? You kind of think of now I'm understanding what. Yeah. Now I get what Spirit's showing us right now. That Cedric Diggory is killed by Voldemort, essentially. Mm-hmm. And then Harry watches the whole thing. And then Dumbledore doesn't talk to him after that, for that brief period, because he's protecting him. But he doesn't know this. But Sirius Black has a conversation, with Harry, saying like, there's darkness and there's light. We always have a choice on how we respond, where we want to put our energy. Do we want it to, do we want to keep putting it towards the light where, it's a positive world for us and we keep building that positive world? Or do we want to keep filling the cup of things always go wrong and nothing's fair and it just continuously gets negative to where it spirals out of control? We always have a choice.
We always have a choice. It's called free will.
Ooh, free will. I love it. You're dropping these like nuggets of gold. Oh, I love me some divine will and free will.
Yeah. We are. I think that's partly what's happening right now is that as the planet moves into 5D, there's going to be, as the planet evolves, so will its people, but people can also choose not to evolve because some people will choose to stay in the duality and the polarity and frankly, the darkness of 3D rather than to move up to 5 because it's the unknown. And the one thing we're not good about as humans is the unknown, being comfortable in the unknown. Because it's tended, because we're only working on less than, I think, 30% DNA capacity, it's left us in the fight or flight mode on a corporal level, with the suit that we're wearing. But that's changing, and that is going to continue to change. And as the DNA gains its potency and efficiency and effectiveness, as that happens and builds, that's going to change. And, I feel like for me, it already has. I mean, they've been helping us with our DNA, and you can talk to the innate inside you. And, I was supposed to go in for knee surgery almost 2 years ago, right before, it was April, right as the epidemic, the coronavirus, right as that was happening.
The Rona.
And so they stopped. So they stopped, all surgeries, all elective, selective surgeries. And what's interesting is I did a lot more sitting around, and my knee is no longer an issue.
Wow.
I mean, the body's even capable of repairing itself, but I mean, not that it doesn't need some assistance sometimes, depending on what's going on, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I really do believe that. It kind of even, what's that one guy that talks to water?
Oh, yeah, the Japanese
man. The Japanese guy.
Yeah, I've forgotten his name.
Himoto or?
Himoto. I think it is. I think it's Himoto. Oh, Ermoto, or maybe it's Emoto, or...
I feel like we've even talked about this on Energy Speaks. Like, I can't remember the name right now, but like that shows right there.
He can turn water that's polluted into clear water through the energy of love.
It's so incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Like it's, and the love vibration is, I feel like it's hard to even know like how that affects things. I was actually driving over here today, of course. And I was just thinking about like when we sing songs and everything, like what, like since we're so in tune with the energies now, like I am always really mindful of what I listen to or watch.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
absolutely.
And there's appropriate times for certain things too. Like, if I'm feeling a little bit like wonky, I'm probably not going to go watch something like, on TV that's a little too much, like freaking scary movie or something like that. You know what I mean? It's probably not the best idea. Or listening to a song that's really on the slow end of things and kind of talking about some, low vibrational stuff, we have a lot of music and we got a lot of movies and TV shows and stuff, but it all affects us and we can totally be unaffected by them too. Yeah. But we gotta kind of gauge where we're at in the moment and allow it to serve our highest and best rather than draining ourselves, and I've noticed that lately. But with specifically music, imagine when we're even within a song, especially your music, what actual vibrations and what things are being shifted and created and everything with those vibrations. I had an experience with dolphins earlier this year, a couple, maybe a month ago or so, and I got to talk to the dolphins with my friend. I mentioned it on the last podcast, and it was so cool because they responded to a certain frequency, and they only responded to that certain frequency. But what was really funny is I asked Hashem, I was like, can we do an experiment? I was like, I'd like to see the contrast of this and see if they still stick around. This one couple came up and they're freaking out. They're like, what's in the water?
The fear.
Yeah, it was literally the exact opposite, right?
Right.
And they were freaking out, wondering what's going on in the water. And here, my friend and I are literally doing these, all these different things and holding the notes.
Yeah.
And they were attracted to it. But when the fear came up, they left.
Yeah.
And then once they left, once the people left after the dolphins did, and we started oming and chanting and stuff like that, they came back.
Wow, nice.
And I was like, cool experiment.
Yeah, very. This is a perfect time to share with you that I was in Hawaii when I went out. I was in this cove, and I went out in the cove with a couple of other people because there was literally a woman riding who lived in the local area and was riding on the back of a dolphin.
Oh, wow.
And so we were swimming out there, and when I got to maybe, I don't know, it seemed like pretty far out there, maybe a quarter of a mile out there in this cove, and I had heard that you can speak to dolphins with mental telepathy.
It's fun.
And I decided that I would try it because I didn't know if it worked or not. I had just heard that, and I figured, well, I'll try it. So I was starting to get tired out there. I didn't have a life preserver or anything on. I was just out there. And so I started to head back, and I decided I was going to try it. And I'm heading back. I stop, and I start just calling them to me. And I kid you not, a whole pod came around me, formed a circle, and a mama and her baby right under her were in my front view.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then when I said, thank you very much, you can go now, it's because they were there, they were just hanging out with me. And then and so I thought, well, I've been treading water a long time now, so I'm going to go back. And I was just so amazed. It was just an amazing thing. And so I said in my mind also, mental telepathy, I told them they could go and thank you so much for the experience and of being close to them. And they took off.
Wow. Yeah.
So that was my first experience with using mental telepathy with them. And that's why I wasn't surprised at all when you were sharing the vibrational reactions that they were having. I mean, they are so sensitive. I really think they're more evolved than we are in some areas.
It's really funny. That experience with my friend, I kept saying to them, I'm going to go now. We got to leave. I guess I didn't send them away though, because I did telepathy. I did use telepathy to communicate with them, and but it was so funny because because of our heart chakras being so wide open, they were still attracted to it. And even when we walked, we're talking about we walked all the way down the waterway, and then we had to turn where the boats are and everything. They followed us all the way into that space where the boats were, and I was like, whoa, energy speaks.
Yeah.
But I wonder if I would have sent that, you can go now, if they would have listened to that or the vibration, of the heart.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
That's so interesting.
Well, whatever the purity of it is, I really did need to swim back to shore.
Well, you were in the middle of the water, so that makes sense.
And I mean, I had swam. I don't know how far out I swam.
That's brave.
Well, I'm a pretty good swimmer, but still, after being in the water an hour just treading, I was ready to go back. So.
I literally would not have been able to do that. Actually, water freaks me out, and I'm a water sign.
Wow. No, I love water.
I love water. I just,
Yeah.
from afar, I don't always like to be in it. Mm-hmm. It's funny.
Yeah, it's more important for me to be near water than in water.
Right. Yeah. It's another similarity between you and my grandma. My grandma would swim every single morning, up in Michigan, except for when it's frozen.
Yeah.
But every time she was at the cottage, she would swim out to the middle of the lake and then all the way back. And I'm like, that's wild.
Wow.
Oh man, miss her.
It would have to be, for me to do that every day in the morning, it would have to be a heated lake. I don't think they have those.
I mean, it's really not that cold really in the, time when you, go out there. But yeah, I don't think they start going there until, it gets warm. What is that? September?
I don't know, because warm now is very different for me than warm years ago. Like in the Northeast, when I lived in the Northeast, warm was different than it is for me now.
That's true. Although down here, it gets cold. It gets cold in a weird way.
Yeah, I mean, 50 for us is cold, but you do 50 in New York, and it doesn't. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, it's
depends on the humidity too.
Yeah, it's this wet cold that gets to your bones that you're
right through your bones.
It's
right? Oh, yeah, I know. Just the thought of it creeps me out. I used to have to take hot baths just to get the chill out of my body.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
that's wild. Oh man.
Don't want to go back there.
You've traveled a lot.
Yeah, I have.
I mean, we started this whole thing. I didn't meet you until I was out on the road, wasn't it?
Right.
Wow. So, you guys listened to our podcast previously, I hope. If not, you can go to that one and then come back to this one. But we went to Mount Shasta together, and then we went to California together.
Yeah.
And that was a wild adventure.
Well, Shasta is in California, but then you came down to Santa Cruz and San Francisco.
Thank you.
Which is more of the stereotypic idea of California.
Yeah.
Shasta feels almost like its own place on the earth.
I know. I guess that's kind of where I was at. I was like,
it is.
It's somewhere.
And it's not that far from Oregon, really. But yeah. It's not when people think of California, the average person doesn't think of Mount Shasta. They think more of San Francisco, L.A., Hollywood.
Right.
But, So we had this incredible, beautiful, wonderful trip in Mount Shasta. That was great.
And then we went to Santa Cruz and had this, awesome, ritual thing. But it...
With the redwoods.
Oh my gosh. Those redwoods are really cool. It's you can talk to them.
Yeah.
And they're these huge giants. You ever see Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
You see the second one?
I don't know.
Okay, so they have in the second movie, one of like they have the trees in the forest and Fangorn Forest, I think it was called, and they had this one that like had a personality. They all had personalities, but they kind of made a character with one of them, and his name was Treebeard.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have to see the second one then.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's called the Two Towers.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, and so
That would be helpful.
like I kept going back to that part of the movie when I was in the redwoods, like talking to them. Like when Carm and I were on our way down to see you at like in Santa Cruz, it was so cool because we did stop and we pulled off into this like really cool area, and I kept like it felt like I was walking into different dimensions, and like I don't know, like we were like in a completely different world, and I feel like the cloaking energy was really easy there. Like you know, walking in walking into different dimensions and stuff like that. Like different if someone would have walked by me or drove by me at certain times of that journey of being pulled off on the side of the road, I don't think they would have been able to see me because I was literally having a conversation with these trees in a completely different space. It felt like I don't even know how to explain that.
Yeah.
But it was magic. It was true magic.
That is, yeah. I have such a deep connection with redwoods that I get like cravings, like I have to go back and visit them, and so I do. You know, but I try to go back once a year. And I just remember this sensation that I was having once where I felt the roots of the trees around my feet. And I thought, you know, if you know if we've lived for thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years or millions of years, I must have been a tree, because at one point I thought I must have been a tree at one point, because I just feel so connected to trees, and not everybody does, you know, and some people are connected to other things that don't really have any connection to me, you know, or for me. So it's interesting if we started as, let's say, elements and we went up the chain in our evolution, it is very possible, what I'm saying.
Can you imagine what those trees have seen, like experienced?
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah.
Like, I
no,
mean,
I can't. I mean, it's like history in the making. Just
it's like I wonder how old they are.
Yeah, some of them are really old.
Really old.
Yeah, and they have that fireproof substance in their bark. It's I think it's called tannic acid or something like that, where it's in their bark that protects them from fires, and so that's why you'll see that the tree has survived a fire, and you can still see the burned part of the tree that has the fire, and yet the tree survived.
Ooh, something we were talking about, healing ourselves. I feel like they have those principles too.
Yeah.
Wow. That's intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Wow.
They have that, because it's really the only thing that can, I mean, you can have a flood, but eventually the flood goes down unless it's the whole planet. But I mean, for the most part, the only
check that box. Noah. Noah.
The only predator really is man for those trees, because they have that fire protection.
Yeah.
That their biggest predator is again, man, animals, plants, the planet. The biggest predator is man.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I just started thinking, I wonder what the trees are like in Israel.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly can't remember. Like, I went, you know, but it's been a while. And I just now, like, I see the world a different way than I did when I was there. That was my awakening.
How long ago was that? That you were there?
2016. August 2016.
There's been a lot of changes since then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like...
the last 2 years have been...
Yeah.
Exponential.
Yeah, it's weird because it's like I felt like at that moment when I was in the desert in Israel, something shifted. Like I could feel it at a spiritual level, but I could feel it at a physical, like cellular level too. And like my diet started changing, all of it. Like everything was like weeding itself out that wasn't good and just falling away. It was so strange. Like, oh, wow. But it was from that moment that I can pinpoint that there was no going back. You know those moments in your life where it was like no going back?
Yeah.
That was the moment.
Well, yeah, because once you awaken, you cannot go back to sleep. It's not possible.
Yeah.
It's like once your eyes see truth, you can try to go back and close your eyes, but it's never the same.
Right. Wow. What was, for you, when was that? Can you like remember a specific moment or time?
I don't know. I think it's been for me a process because as long as I can remember, I was consciously connected to God.
Same.
Or what I called God.
Yeah.
I didn't at that time recognize. I mean, we can talk about when was the moment that, you know, I truly recognized that I was a fractal of God, that I am God. I'm not the creator. I'm not the source, but I am God.
Yeah.
You know, when I first heard that, it felt like blasphemy. It took me a long time. I had to do a lot of unlearning in order to awaken.
Yeah.
A lot of unlearning, because I went from being more of a fundamentalist Christian
Yeah.
to not.
It's not. That's hilarious.
No. You know, it was an unfolding for me. And what would happen, though, is I'd get these times where I'll never forget the first time I was in San Francisco. I was in my 20s, and I'd been studying with the theologian what the Bible had to say about homosexuality. And the theologian was a Christian gay man, and so I trusted him that he wasn't, you know, using his own judgments and prejudice or whatever to skew things.
Yeah.
And it was, so the first time I remember I was driving home from church, and I got so filled with, like, showered with grace and light and love. It just hit me so strongly. I just started bursting out crying, and I had to stop the car.
Wow.
But I've had other things. I've had things where I've prayed and asked to have my energy save someone that I knew of, that I knew him personally, and he ran an orphanage, and he had been shot in Haiti and robbed. And anyway, he ended up passing. But before he passed, I didn't even believe in this yet, but I just was asking that my energy be transferred to him so he could continue to live and help those children.
Yeah.
And I laid on the bed, and I was just kind of meditating and praying that, and I opened up my eyes, and the ceiling opened up.
What?
Yeah, it opened. It wasn't the ceiling, it became fluid. The ceiling that was solid suddenly became fluid and was moving around, and, you know, just like it just was moving like, it's hard to explain. And the moment it did that, I knew, I got the knowing, the clear cognizance that he had passed.
Wow.
Because I was, you know, I was opening up myself to allow spirit to transfer energy if it was going to help, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
But so I've had a lot of different things happen, and I've been literally saved from death on so many different occasions that there's no doubt in my mind I'm here for a purpose. And
are you a cat?
know,
Sorry.
Maybe that was another past life. It's definitely a dog, I think.
I know, I was joking. I was like, cats in their 9 lives. That's okay. Dogs have 10. No, I'm kidding.
No, I mean, I literally fell off the side of a mountain and had a 50-pound pack on me, and there was no bottom to this ravine in the Redwood, the national park, Redwood National Park it was. And I felt like I was being carried by angels, like I was,
right.
By angels as I was like flipping. I'd hit the bottom, but always on the backpack because all the weight was there, and then I'd fly into the air again.
Yeah.
Kept flying into the air, and just as I realized that there was no end to this, I remembered I couldn't see the bottom of the ravine, and my body was going to end up wrapped around a tree or who knows what. Just when I got that feeling of fear, and it went rushing through your body, when you get fear like that, a real scary moment where it just goes through your body. Just as that happened, I hit this triangular, and I think of a triangular rock that was at perfect pitch. So when I hit it with my backpack, I stopped.
That's comical.
Yeah. And then what tells you what's even really more interesting is that when I was with my partner at the time, and she tried to come down, but then she lost control, and I said, don't do it, just go back, don't try. So I finally, my nails and everything, getting up this ravine, and I get up to the top, and my ankle is just blown up because I had twisted it.
Yeah.
And then my walking stick catapulted me over the edge. That's what happened with the walking stick. So now I know you need to keep your walking stick on the inside of the mountain, not the out, because then it's like a catapult.
Wow.
But anyway, so what happened was that just as I got up there and I looked down at my ankle, and I knew I wasn't going to make it back to the car.
Yeah.
And we were still like maybe a mile from the campsite. So I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And just as I wasn't panicked or anything, I just thought, how are we going to figure this one out? And just as I said that in my mind, wasn't even out loud, it was just in my mind thinking, how am I going to do this? This female ranger comes out of nowhere, just like around the corner, just suddenly appears and happens to have an ankle brace on her, and she gives it to me. I mean,
that's comical.
It's just... So, I have story after story like that. So,
you got more like these?
Oh, yeah. No, I literally, I was like this close to a train going right in front of my nose, literally in front of my nose. Just stuff, stuff that I know that
you
I'm
like
here
to live on the edge, literally.
No, I'm here for a reason. That's all I can think of is I'm here for a reason. I really do think that I'm here to help in the transition from 3 to 5, from 3D to 5D. I'm here as a light worker. I know I'm a very old soul. I've been told I'm an ancient one. I've been told I'm 7 million years old. I have no way of knowing this or proving it or disproving it. But the point is that when you know you have a purpose, you no longer have any fears. You still can have fears, but it's different.
Yeah.
Because you know that there are no mistakes. I can look back on my life.
Yeah.
And just see how I was carried and not literally carried, but more of guided over and over and over again. And also I can see times and areas when I turned my back on being guided and wanted to just do my own thing and see how that worked out. So,
Been there, done that one.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's just such an exciting time. It's just such an exciting time. I am so great. I know this is going to really freak people out maybe, but I am so grateful for the pandemic, for COVID. It just forced everybody to go inside. It gave them the opportunity.
I love that. Yeah.
To go inside.
Yeah.
And that's how it was for me anyway. I mean, these last 2 years, I've gone from like sitting on the fence, kind of like have one foot in the human world and one foot in the spirit world. And now it's like, this is a full-time, this is it. This is like, if you want peace, you have to be peace. If you want love, you have to be love. If you want to be in the fifth, then you have to, you know, I mean, if you want to go to the fifth, you have to be the fifth, which means that
embodiment.
It's embodying it full time. No more sitting on, you know, going back and forth. I did that for a long time. That was hard, actually, to go back and forth, but I had to do that. But it really wasn't until this year that I consciously decided, oh no, this is it. I'm here to do this kind of work. And that's why I came tonight. You know, every opportunity, every door that opens, that gives me an opportunity to talk about how great things are going to be. That we're seeing things fall apart, but they have to fall apart in order for us to build what we want. And we've been putting Band-Aids on the educational, on every single institutional system we have in this country. And I could probably say for the world, but I don't know about the world. I only, you know, could feel comfortable in a few countries of saying that I know enough to speak on it. But,
yeah,
you know, we've just, yeah.
Yeah. What do you feel we're heading towards?
Oh, a new world that's going to be incredible and probably even beyond my imagination.
I love that.
Yeah, I can't teletransporting. I mean, just being able to like, I mean, there's just so many things we're going to be able to do in the fifth that we can't do in the lower density of 3D. But, you know, it's not going to be it's like we're going to get a chance to live in a place where we build things based on love and based on the good for all, not just for some.
There's a saying in Judaism, Olam Chesed Yibeneh. We will build this world from love.
Yes.
And
that's what I'm saying.
You know what? I did not speak on this at all, ever. I've only told one person this. But during the last election, I was called to vote, but I did not vote for a person. I voted and I put in the box, you know, actually on the line. There's not really a box for that one. Yeah. Olam Chesed Yibeneh. That was my vote. My vote was, let's build this world from love. And ever, you know, like, because when I was like, wow, and I even was guided to write the Hebrew of it, which was funny. And I feel like there was a reason, and I feel like kind of like when you speak something out into existence, there's a certain vibration.
Absolutely.
But there's also a certain vibration, you know, with spelling. And the Hebrew, you know, from its original, has so much magic in it. And I don't know. I feel like that vote is in, and I'm about to go do it. I've been doing it. Yeah. We've been doing it. But I'm seeing where soul mission plays in, you know? And like, let's get her done. Let's go deeper.
Dwelling. It's about dwelling in it, not just knowing it up here, not just saying it, not just speaking it. But it's a process. It's like you can't be hard on yourself when you're not in that place. Because it is a process, but it's such a powerful experience. My life is just changing beyond belief, and it's just getting more and more magnificent. And it's not requiring a whole lot of effort. Things are coming to me, like vibrationally.
Yeah.
You know, just like you called me today and said you want to do the podcast, or someone asked me if I want to do, you know, a workshop on nonviolent communication. Clients getting referred. So things are just coming. I don't really have to make the effort anymore. It's getting almost effortless. I just have to put it out there and consciously connect with my inner self, higher self, guides, bring everybody in. I need some help here now.
It's got a team over here.
Yeah.
They're chanting an omen.
It's like getting out of the way, getting my ego out of it all, getting my ego out of the way. And for a long time, that's why I stopped performing my music. I stopped a lot of things because I just didn't want to come from that ego place anymore. And now when I'm doing these things, I'm not there. It's a whole different way of approaching things. So I just feel empowered instead of intimidated. It's just all I have to do is be my authentic self and speak the truth. That's it. Just speak my truth. It doesn't have to be anybody else's truth.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm not asking anybody to join in or join on or do what I do recommend is everybody step into their authentic self, because that's where the authentic power is.
Yeah.
Not the power where you have to step on somebody to get up.
Yeah.
Or control people, but a power that comes from within.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
The divine power, which is so much greater, so much greater and expansive.
Oh, I just felt the dwelling. Wow. Question. Can you tell us a little bit more about nonviolent communication? What is it exactly?
Well, there's so many parts to it, but it's really communicating from a place of, there's so many parts to it. Basically from your heart. It's learning how to communicate from love. Okay. And, the Sufis had, to get through the Sufi gates. Have you ever heard of that?
It's funny. My rabbi was talking about Sufis today, so this is funny.
All right. Tie it all in.
Tie it all in.
I think it went, to get through the Sufi gates, you need to ask yourself, does this need to be said? Does this need to be said by me?
Ooh.
And for me, and can it be said with love? And so if I say yes to all three, does it need to be said? Well, it has to be said by me. It's my partner. Who else is going to say, or something like that. But, if I say yes to all three, I can go forward. But this is, of course, when you're planning on talking to somebody, which is different than when you're on the spot right then. Yeah. And then, it's really important that when we talk with love, we don't use the you, which is accusatory. If I'm starting my sentences with you, you're going to feel attacked, accused. It's being aware of your own feelings. So it's a lot more than it's taking full responsibility for what you feel and what you create, not putting it on somebody else, but being able to still express how you feel and how somebody has maybe impacted you. But when I say the impact of what you said, how I experienced it, that's my experience. You can't tell me I'm wrong or right with it.
Right.
Because it's just mine. But if I say, you make me, then I'm blaming. And as soon as I'm blaming, I'm in the old paradigm where you have blame, persecutor, and hero. It's a triangle. And that's what our whole 3D paradigm is people feel victimized, so they have to have a perpetrator. So there's the blame. And then they usually look for a hero, somebody, to save them and get them on their side. Or, use, did you know that so-and-so did that to me? Get the empathy or sympathy. So it's just an old paradigm. And we really need to learn nonviolent communication, which is none of those.
Yeah.
To just be able to speak our truth and work out conflict without accusing the other person or blaming the other person, but recognize that everything we're feeling is a reflection. In other words, if you're my mirror and I'm your mirror. So if we go into it with that sense of responsibility and understanding what I'm feeling and you understand what you're feeling, then you can bring your experience to the table and I can bring the experience to the table, and then we can understand each other. Wow. I don't have to make you wrong or right. Because what keeps people together is understanding. It's not who wins the fight.
Yeah. Or common understanding.
Yeah, it's just it's a deeper understanding of each other. And to do that, you often need to take space or time to reflect and not be impulsive with the feelings. And I think that's the hardest thing to do, because we've gone at such a fast pace, and everything's about, getting stuff out and getting stuff done and moving on, and to slow it down enough to say, okay, I'm not going to say anything until I can see what's in this for me in terms of what's my part in it.
Yeah.
And then I can talk about it, because then I can also be responsible for my triggers and not hold you responsible for my triggers. They're mine. They're not yours. But that's what we do when we blame.
I feel like I just practiced nonviolent communication today with my mom.
Beautiful.
I didn't even realize I was doing it, but she triggered me on stuff,
right.
But it was my trigger. So I told her, I literally was like, so this was a trigger for me, Mom. Like she had a wool blanket that was mine. I was looking for a while, and I said, "Oh, look, I found the blanket." And she's like, "Oh yeah, it's really scratchy." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's wool." and then I said to her, "Hey, make sure if you're gonna wash it or something like that you use Woolite, because it's wool." And then she's like, "Well, your dad, washed it yesterday." And I'm like, Oh. And I'm like, this is triggering me right now. and I said, well, please don't use it again right now. And if you do, please use Woolite. I mean, it was comical, but it was like, normally that could have went downhill really quickly, but it didn't. And I expressed myself. I took responsibility for what I was feeling and how it was affecting me, and we moved forward and we moved through it very effortlessly.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I was like, well, that was easy. Like different. And those are the shifts. And I just was looking at that, what you just said and all of that. Imagine what that would look like in the Middle East. Or actually, I feel like I've been to something specifically like this. I was in London Derry, where Bloody Sunday happened. I went to an event called Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul, and it was...
Oh, I had that book.
Really?
I did. I used to have that book. Oh, that's great. Go ahead.
Yeah, they did an event. It was the first time. They had just built a peace bridge. And it's a walking bridge from one side of the city to the other, because London Derry is one place, but there's a split essentially, because more of those who are Protestant are connected with Londonderry, and the other side is connected with the Catholic side, which is more of like the Derry part. Ireland, and that's why they have the whole split between Northern Ireland and Ireland. It's like long history, long,
right.
Energetic buildup.
Right.
Kind of like in the Middle East. It's very similar.
Right.
And I was privileged to go 2 years in a row for college. I was studying abroad. I did social psychology and international relations. Perfect, right? And so the first year I did social psychology, and then the second year I did international relations, but I got to sit through them both.
Right.
But what was funny is I got to see the progression of how they were talking about an event, of what they were going to do, of like bridging the community together, which they built a bridge, literally.
Right.
And then it's a walking bridge to promote the peace, so that it's not like, just vehicles going back and forth.
I love the idea.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And then they create this event the next year that I'm there, like, this is the first time that the bridge is open, that I'm over there now. And this event is literally promoting everybody who was there on Bloody Sunday, who it was kind of like their civil war, brother against brother, like, same families, but different views. And they got them all in a room to talk about their feelings in a peaceful way. And they provided chicken noodle soup because it's a comfort food.
I love it.
It's so cool. Like, we just need some matzo ball soup.
Yeah, that's right. We just got oh my gosh. Yes, that was good. That was good.
But I realized as you were talking as well that I heard about nonviolent communication with a friend of mine who recently passed this year. She was known as Marcy Armani, or Amani, sorry, or she went by Miriam, and she was a gem. And I just want to shout out to you, Miriam, up there. I know you're probably laughing right now. Like, I told you, all about this. And I'm like, but she wouldn't have said it like that because, we took a road trip last year and we had some trying moments, I will say. And I will tell you, her gift of communicating, the nonviolent communication, I got to see it, firsthand, and I had forgotten for a moment. And I'm really glad that, you mentioned it so that we could talk about this and I could honor her soul.
Yeah.
Her spirit.
Could you mind me asking you how old she was?
She was in her 70s.
Huh. I did do I participated in a nonviolent workshop. It was a week long.
Oh, wow.
And it was with people that had been trained under the original author of it. And, and I'm trying to remember if it was in the Redwoods too, up in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Oh, wow.
They were probably more from that area. But anyway, it was an incredible...
She was traveling all over.
Oh, what? Okay,
she had a son in California, ironically.
Oh, well,
so
maybe
there's a good possibility.
Yeah, it might have been. It was a great workshop. And, it was a powerful workshop. I'm excited I'm going to be doing this workshop at Zen City in...
Yes, please
Tarpon.
tell us.
Yeah. On January 15th, from 1 to 3:30 or 4.
Okay.
So it's a half day or 4-hour workshop, and it's going to be interactive if people want to volunteer for that or not. And I'm really excited about it because often we're just not aware of what we're really communicating.
Yeah.
Because you communicate not just through the words, which are powerful enough, but also through attitude, through body language. So you could be saying one thing, but your body's saying another thing, and then it's very confusing for the person who's listening.
Yeah.
Because they don't know which message to believe.
Yeah.
And so it really is about creating an awareness as well of what you're communicating, but also how the person's responding.
Absolutely.
Just everything starts with awareness, and then there's the choice, right? Freedom of choice. It's awareness, choice, and that's how we create our lives.
Yeah. Wow. Could you say what date that was again?
Sure, January 15th, 2022. Oh, that sounds so weird, 2022.
I know, right?
Wow.
And Zen City is a new place up in Tarpon Springs.
Yeah, it's a healing center, Zen City Healing Center, up in Tarpon Springs.
It's a little bit past Klosterman, off of Alt 19.
Yeah. And
so
great place from, I haven't been there yet. I can't wait to get there.
I just visited.
Yeah. Oh, well, can you tell me a little bit about?
Yeah, and it's funny because it's kind of like a segue for the next podcast I will be having. Carmela is the next guest.
Oh, okay.
So there's a little preview there.
All right.
She works at Zen City.
Beautiful.
And there wasn't much going on the day that I went because they're still getting schedules and stuff together.
Right.
But for the moment that I just happened to slide by, it was actually perfect because they were in a break type of thing. And I got to just kind of walk around because I got a tour. There's a lot of creations going on there. There's a meditation room, and they have like a place where you can do yoga or different type of things like that, or classes. And then there's artwork all over the walls, and it's so cool in there. Like the specific artwork, just ask Chris or Sherry who did these, and you'll get a really cool story.
They have a lot of books, I've heard, also spiritual books in their library.
Oh yeah, and so they have a spiritual library, and I think it's like $20 or $25, and then you can check out a book for as long as you like. It's just to ensure that like if you were to take the book,
it's covered.
It's covered,
right.
and so then they also have like a thing in the back where they make like mugs and different things like that. She has like some type of, they're gonna try to work on T-shirts and stuff like that. They also have a room where they're gonna be doing like different sessions. Like someone rents out the room and they can do sessions or whatever. Astrology or hypnotics or hypnosis. I don't know. Whatever you can think of,
Right.
And then there's also right at the front when you walk in, there's a little store, and you can get a drink. They have kombucha, kava, kratom, all these different things. So it's a really cool, beautiful. It's a really beautiful energy. And I got to actually attend a yoga class. I stayed long enough.
Oh, good. Was it with Alicia?
It was.
Yeah, she's really good. She's a great yoga instructor.
She really is. And we'll be having a podcast with her soon as well. She's just a beautiful soul. And I will tell you, it's hard to get me to sit down, and just like do yoga. And I will tell you, the space that they have cultivated at Zen City, plus Alicia, instructing, is really holistic.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And before, by the way, I just wanted I wanted people to know before we end that the music that I'm doing is going to be, or the music that I've recorded is going to be on Spotify.
Correct.
And maybe Pandora, I don't know, Amazon, and I think there were a few other places, but it's not yet up and ready. So if anybody's listening to this, it's not quite there yet. But it will also. I saw those that thing where you have a card and it has the UPS thing that you were telling me about, where someone could use it their phone and download your music.
Oh, a scan code.
I saw it. Somebody gave me theirs for their music.
Oh, wow.
It was the day after you told me about that whole concept.
Of course it was.
And anyway, so I'll Zen City, they'll probably I'll have those made and
Would
fact,
you like to preview a song?
Oh, okay, sure. Wow. That's brilliant. Thank you. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Well, it's a little bit funny because, I was sitting here thinking, and I wanted a clear answer from Spirit, and I kept saying, like, I really wanted to play a song by her, but maybe it's not the time. And
no,
then
I would love that.
And then you said that, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, this was it. It showed like there's an an apple on one side, and on the other there's something to scan from Amazon. So this is how they're doing it now, and it was totally new to me. I know for some of you that are probably listening, it's like, where have you been?
Oh, that's so funny.
But it's totally new for me.
I'm looking for the chord, which is really funny because I had it the other night when I was over at your house.
Which chord?
It's a little cord that I plug into the back of the thing.
Extension?
No, it's hilarious.
Adapter?
Yeah, it's kind of like a little adapter, but give me 2 seconds.
Sure, absolutely.
And
I
don't think we have it, unfortunately. But
can we do it? Do we need? We absolutely need it, huh? I guess so. Can we do it straight from the phone into there?
I think we're gonna try.
Okay, because we can do one of us that's on YouTube and go right in from the phone into.
Well, I have one right here.
Oh. Okay.
It's so weird. Technology, and then of course just things disappearing. This is like the third time that I've literally not found it. Like, weird.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna hold it up. And do you want to play I Surrender or Lullaby?
I'd rather do Unity.
I don't have that one on here. I only have 2 because I did it a specific way.
Oh. Well, we can try I Surrender.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see how this works. Uh-huh.
I surrender to all of your grace. I surrender to your time and place. I surrender to all of your good. I surrender all my ifs, coulds, and shoulds. Spirit leads me. I am free. Oh, Spirit leads me. I am free.
So I just wanted to play a little preview of Carrie Trubenbach, aka Wisdom. Her new, kind of older music, but more so finally getting it out.
New release.
New release. There we go.
On songs that have been sitting for a long time and been performed actually all over the country, but at different spiritual centers.
Yeah. It's never too late, guys,
Never, ever.
to act on something. You get that intuition to move forward with something, do it.
It's about releasing it.
Yeah.
So that the universe, or whatever you want to call it, so that whoever needs to hear what you have to say, whatever needs to happen, it can happen. But it can't happen until we release it and get unattached and just let the universe play with it.
Yes. Wow. Well, I thank you so much for coming on again.
Namaste.
Namaste.
It's always fun.
Namaste. I love puns. Well, I thank you all, divine, beautiful souls, for listening. This is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Catriel. Shalom.